But back to the football terrace. Apologies for the lateness. I got caught in mad traffic in Germany. So we're here now, though. We're here. We're ready to go. Mo and Husam are here with me. How are you, gentlemen?
Very good, very good, very good day today. Nice day. Weather's brilliant. We're here on Straight Facts. Make sure you guys are liking. Make sure you guys are subscribing. There's a lot of transfer news as well. And low-key, I'm welcoming the 2-day break from the Euros. That should be a nice break, I'll be honest with you. Thank God, no more games for a little bit. So I can miss it again.
I agree. I'm kind of enjoying the little break, although it's been an amazing tournament. Mo, you good, my friend?
Alhamdulillah. Everything is good, people. Everything is good. You're here. Straight Facts. Football Terrace. Make sure to like. Let's get 1,000 likes, as we say, always live. And then 2,000 likes if you're watching this on the replay. A lot of you people enjoy it, but you forgot the likes. You forget it. You forget it always. Just hit that like button. It helps the channel. Helps the show. Just like the video. And then enjoy.
Absolutely. I wanted to, obviously, there are lots of things to talk about today. KDB kicking off at the media. You've got Man United firing some of its staff. There's some interesting news from Fabrizio and others in relation to Riccardo Calafiori to Arsenal, plus some other transfer stories on the way. So stay with us for all of that. But of course, I wanted to start actually with the KDB story because I know very little about it. I know that I know it's to do with Palmari Tancredi or Tancredi Palmari, whatever his name is. But what's this about him calling the media stupid?
So he asked him a straight question. He asked him why.
One more has to start, I'll be so honest.
Listen,
cool.
Only want to answer questions when things are going your way. He asked him a straight question. Why do you think this generation didn't reach a final? It's a golden generation. And he answered him, but the others have golden generations as well. And he just forgot that all the other golden generations reached final, including England, who reached a final in the Euros last time. And he just called him stupid. And the journalist called him out and called him a spoiled brat. And just to be honest with you, this character of KDB, I'm not saying anything about his abilities on the football pitch. An amazing footballer, brilliant for Man City, multiple Premier League winner, a treble winner. But he's not the captain you want for this golden generation. I'm sorry. Walking away from the fans when it's not going their way, when the fans are booing them, you go and you salute the fans, you clap for the fans, you ask for forgiveness, like what Cristiano did, like what all the other captains do. But he literally just walked away and asked for his teammates to walk. That's in the game after the third round. And then you don't want the media to ask you the tough questions. You only want to answer questions when it's going your way, as you are spoiled, as the journalist said. That's not an example for people how to be a captain of a football club. Captains of football clubs answer questions, back their team, like go to the fan, get the fans behind. Like this is not a 20 years old. Like when Jude Bellingham, for example, called out the fans, that's a 20 years old, right? Kevin De Bruyne, 32 years old, you're the captain of the Belgian national team. You don't do that. And it affects everyone negatively in the team. By the way, it affects the Dokus because he's going to retire and he doesn't care, right? The Dokus are going to be there. You know, the Onanas are going to be there. There are still going to be youngsters. And if that's the example you want to set, that's to be honest, just as bad as it gets as a captain of any national team. It's as bad as it gets. I know what Husam thinks about that as well.
What do you make of it, Sam?
I think, listen, push the player abilities to the side. KDB has been a bad leader for this Belgium team. Obviously, in the last World Cup, they kind of asked him a similar question. His response was, we're too old. Listen, whether you like it or not, the Belgian golden generation has failed. Kevin De Bruyne is using the English reference. I don't get why that one is like some sort of edgy take. Yes, the England golden generation failed. The English players themselves acknowledge it. Gerrard acknowledges it. Lampard does. Gary Neville, Rio. We've heard all of them talk about how the English golden generation failed. I don't get how this is a thing. Like every single time, like someone just mentions that the golden generation fails, they bring back the England one. Yeah, but everyone acknowledges that they failed anyway. get the point. Like, I genuinely don't get the point of bringing up other golden generations who also failed. Okay, so you're saying you're a failure like them. Congratulations. Wow, congratulations. You both failed. It's just like, it just makes no sense to me. I think his leadership, his real leadership for Belgium hasn't been there whatsoever. I mean, last time, we're talking about, this time maybe they got eliminated by France and they lost to France in the final, in the semi-final of the World Cup, blah, blah, blah. Last time they got grouped in a group with Croatia, Morocco, and Canada. They got grouped in that group, and he was saying we're too old, before the competition. So what message do you think that carries to the players? I look at his individual performances, and I haven't even seen one game, not even one game this whole Euros where I've said like, wow, Kevin De Bruyne was incredible today. It's not like he had a game where he had like, 2 assists and a goal and like they won 3-0 or they slapped up another team. And people's excuses is always like, oh yeah, he doesn't have, players around him and all that stuff. Yeah, but there's many national teams who don't have that many good players around. I mean, Argentina, who just won the World Cup, they had Montiel and Tagliafico in their starting 11. Their centre-back partnership was Otamendi and Romero, with all due respect. Their goalkeeper plays for Aston Villa. So no national team player, even the English national team, they have a centre-back who plays for Crystal Palace. They got a left-back who plays for Newcastle. They got a goalkeeper who plays for Everton. No team is always going to be perfect with all players playing for Madrid and Barca and all that stuff. Like, there's teams, there are teams that have failed as golden generations, and they have failed. And I don't get why Kevin De Bruyne just didn't answer the question. Yes, we were he could have answered it very PR trained way, yes, we were unsuccessful, we'll try again, better for the World Cup or something like that. Just could have given a usual PR trained, media trained answer and could have got the stepping. But instead, I agree with Tancredi 100%. He did respond like a spoiled brat. This is true. And I love when people say, and already here it's mentioned, James in the chat, oh, Argentina have heritage and DNA of winning. My brother, the last time they won a World Cup was in the 80s. What DNA? What heritage? But like, it's just, this heritage talk is just such a buzzword when it comes international football. There is no such thing as heritage. Brazil have been crap in the World Cup since 2002, and they're the most heritage country when it comes to football. So let's not do this whole heritage stuff because it's just buzzwords.
Look, I haven't seen the comments, so it's one of those things that's difficult for me to overly judge, but I have seen some of the fallout online. I will say this, it is a completely fair question for a journalist to ask the captain of his nation about the failings of a golden generation. Because when that golden generation was in its pomp, just with England and just with other nations before them, the players involved in that quote-unquote golden generation were happy to indulge in the positive press. They were happy to indulge in the media commitments and get the endorsements and the sponsorship deals of being involved with the golden generation of their nation. And if you're happy to accept the title of golden generation when it's benefiting you financially, when it's benefiting your life, I think you have to be willing to take the criticism when that golden generation doesn't deliver what many people feel it should have done. 2016 would be the standout example. You look at that tournament, how good their team was, who went on to win it. The Belgians probably should have gone and done it. And I think 2016, 2018, they had good tournaments, not astounding good tournaments. And they progressively got worse. And I think they should be criticized. And there was a point where they had a number of players, including KDB, Vincent Kompany, when Toby Alderweireld and Vertonghen were, at their absolute pomp. Hazard was in that team. They should have definitely delivered more. And I don't think it's wrong that they get any less criticism from the world of football and European football to what the England team suffered. And I'm talking the golden generation of English football, who I would actually say fouled on a greater scale than Belgium. At least they got to some semi-finals. The England team that had the Beckhams in it and the like, as much as I love the individual players, they failed a lot worse, and they're still criticized now. Some of them have been retired over a decade. So I do think it is a crybaby mentality. That is the type of journalism I want from the journalists out there. Tough, hard questions. Answer them honestly. Fans will appreciate. Now, of course, City fans are going to defend him. Some Belgian fans may defend him, but in the cold, hard light of day, he should be answering those questions and not crying for me. And that goes for any single player out there. If England get knocked out by Switzerland, it's right that Harry Kane gets asked questions about underperforming throughout the course of this tournament based on the quality of this team. And if he starts crying, but he's already done it a little bit and was criticised for being upset that Gary Lineker said that the performance was shit. It was. It absolutely was. So yeah, I'm not here for that crybaby mentality either. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. But viewers, look, we'd love to know what you think and what you feel about this story about KDB. Let us know in the comments section below or in the live chat as well. Remember, any super chats that come in, we will prioritize them. Any questions you have for the boys. Chelsea fan here says Hazard carried De Bruyne in all of his international career.
Yeah. Now that Hamza is not, he's not on the stream with us. I don't think Hazard carried Belgium. I think that Belgium team was stacked. This is the reality. I think they had Courtois, Alderweireld, Vertonghen, who at the time were Champions League finalists, Vincent Kompany, multiple Premier League winner, captain, Moussa Dembele, who's a baller. They had Eden Hazard, they had Lukaku when he was good, Kevin De Bruyne. So I don't think anyone in that team carried, to be honest with you. I think that's just a stacked team that failed. That's just the reality.
Yeah, but Eden Hazard was the best player in that team.
Yes, the best player doesn't equal carry for me.
I know Husam has this definition of a carry, or it's a one man, like Messi carried Argentina to a World Cup, something like that. Messi is the one that won the World Cup. Hazard didn't carry the team. I think Messi was the one, in my opinion, in 2022 for a different day.
Yeah, probably. I mean, he was maybe the best player, but we can't deny that. For instance, Enzo Fernandez had an amazing tournament. And that's the thing for me. I think that carried is such a weird concept in.
Without Messi, they get knocked out at the first round right away. It does with Enzo, with Lautaro, with Julian Alvarez. They get knocked out. Without Eden Hazard, Belgium might have reached the quarterfinal. That's what my definition of carry. Without Messi,
yeah. So I can understand that element, but equally, if you replay Messi's career and you don't have him in that Barcelona team with Busquets, Xavi, and Iniesta, he wins less. If you take away 2 or 3 other top performers from that Argentina side over the course of that tournament, Enzo, Romero played very, very well as an example. You remove those players, and yes, he might have scored goals, but they might have conceded more and gone out. I think it's sometimes I get where you're coming from, but carried would suggest that most of the team was awful, and then this one guy just delivered. But I suppose it's definitions of the word as opposed to
Gerard in 05 is the perfect definition of carry. This is true. No one can deny this.
Yeah, that does make sense. I've stopped, by the way, hit the like button, people. Let's get it done right now. Over 2,500 people watching. Let's get this up to 1,000 likes for us, please. I didn't see this. We've been out this afternoon. We've been going to a few locations where we're going to film. We were going to go and film a football challenge today, but then it started raining, so we couldn't do it. But we went out and found some locations. Then I had to go and buy some boots because I didn't have any with me. But I've read about it in the car on the way back. Man United firing today around, or making redundant, language there, around 25% of its sort of general day-to-day working staff. I've seen a lot of people online get angry about it. I've seen people I respect in the financial world say, oh my God, they're making normal people redundant, yet they're still paying Anthony's wages. How is this really going to help the team and the club? What do you boys think about Man United making around, I think it's around 250 staff redundant?
Mo, you're heartless, so go first.
I agree with the people that the backlash. I agree. Big corporate, Man United are a big corporation, big company, right? You are paying some players wages without playing because you have contracts with them. Yes, I see that. I don't know about the law in the UK, to be honest. But for example, here in America, you can just fire people if you don't have a union. You can just fire people.
So just on that, just before you go any further. So here in the UK, we have a lot more employment rights and regulations than in the States. They won't be fired; they'll be made redundant, which means they'll be paid off. So they'll get, I don't know what they'll get, but I'll give you an example. A friend of mine was made redundant from Barclays, and it was sort of like a 60,000-70,000 pound payoff. So they won't just be kicked out with no money in their back pocket, but yeah, they're made redundant. They'll be paid off as an example. They won't just be let go tomorrow and that's it.
It is so worrying when you see 25% of the employees being laid off, because what would these guys doing in the club? Like 25% of the staff being laid off. What are they do? What were they doing in the club? What were they getting paid to do? If that's and it shows, to be honest, you can look at it from both ways. You can look at it from the Glazers were really running a shit show, and there was 25% of the employees that you didn't need. You just they got paid. And you can look at it from the positive point of view of Jim Ratcliffe is doing the right things at Man United, and he's setting the things right way, and he's fixing the finances of the club. Because 25% is, I've never heard of a company lay off 25% at once. But because what are you going to do about the day-to-day jobs of these people? I don't know. Or you can look at it from the other way, is that they're going to put more workload on the other people. I am not at Man United. I don't work at Man United. But you can spin this however you want, to be honest. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to sit on the fence here because I actually don't know. It might be that completely one of the best moves of someone who's laying off people that don't work and get paid and fixing the finances of the club. Or it can be someone who's heartless and he's laying off people and he's going to give the responsibilities to some other people at the club, and he just wants to save some money. You can look at it from both ways. I've seen it go both ways. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know. I don't know what were these people doing at the club, and they will never tell us, of course. I know.
This is the thing. If they were in a position where like they're kind of faking jobs, or Jim Ratcliffe found out the names of like 15 people that work for Man United that on jobs that don't even exist or aren't there, or like there's something like that, where it's like I employ my cousin on This Is Football and then give him a massive salary to avoid taxes type shit. I don't know what the hell is going on. But if it's just regular people, in terms of saving money, I don't think it saves money at all. For a club, for a corporation like Man United, random guy called Jim who earns like, 50 grand a year is not gonna save money for Manchester United, and another random guy called Phil who earns like 40 grand a year is not gonna save money, and a guy working minimum wage is not gonna save money for them. So I look at this and I think, look, I think this is very dependent on context. And the problem is we are not supplied with context. We actually don't know what the hell is going on. We don't know who they sacked, who they didn't hire, who's being let go of. So yeah, that's the thing that kind of where we can't answer properly, to be honest.
Do you know what's really interesting? So it's saving around the average salary of around 35k. Making a quarter of Man United staff redundant will save the club about £8.7 million a year. Now, there's so many trains of thought to this, though. And I understand the initial backlash of, oh, my God, you've made 25% of the sort of normal everyday staff, sort of working class Mancunians redundant. And that is a disgrace. And I think on the surface, I understand why people have that response. But there is a really big however to this. You said earlier that you've never seen a company do this. I think we would all agree, whether you like him as a person or not, we would all agree that Elon Musk is a brilliant businessman who isn't just good at making himself money, he's good at making companies more successful. Would we typically agree with that?
Yeah.
80% of the Twitter staff were made redundant very, very quickly after he arrived. And he spoke about it in an interview and just said they just weren't needed. And there was actually loads of videos that were viral before he took over of an average Twitter employee's day. And they spent most of their day meditating, doing yoga, or having coffee breaks. I have, and this is a gut feeling based on what we have seen coming out of the press in the last 6 months. I think there's a lot of people at Man United being paid, whether it's 20 grand, 35 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand is irrelevant to me. I think they're being paid to do jobs that are just pointless. And typically speaking, unless your job is saving your organization money or your job is making an organization money, what is the point of you? And I know that sounds a very harsh way to look at things, but I believe it's the reality. If you're whatever your job is at Man United, if you're, say you work in the marketing team, you're paid 35 grand a year, you get 15 grand in bonus. So you cost the company 50,000. But you're bringing in £250,000 a year of revenue because you're good at selling. They didn't make that person redundant, in my opinion. That individual has probably kept their job. If you're somebody that, if one of the PAs, one of the executives, and you save that PA, as a PA, you save that executive so much time energy and effort doing particular roles, and it enables that person to flourish in their job. They kept their role. Typically speaking in life, unless an organization is failing because of bad decisions at executive level, so they have to get rid, like the Lehman Brothers as an example. If a business is, and Man United as a business are growing when it comes to revenue, right? So if you look at it from a business perspective, we are thriving. If 25% of people have lost their jobs, that is because those 25% of people, to coin the phrase, are redundant to the organization. And I think there is an element here of, there is, as much as I believe in supporting a working class person, I don't believe it's an organization's responsibility to employ people that it doesn't need. I think they're better off pumping and investing that money. And as billionaires, they're not saving £8 million a year to give it to themselves. That would just be a ridiculous PR move, because it's a drop in the ocean to their, £40 billion net worth. I think they're doing it to create more efficiency within the organization. They've said in the press release, the money saved will go into the first team. I don't think that actually means into a player. The journalists won't publish it. I think it's more about, well, maybe we can get 2 better recruiters in that cost an extra, 200 grand a year to get, but we can find better players that make the first team better. But what we have to create at Manchester United is efficiency. And we have had so many stories that have come out about, it sounds like silly things, but I think they're really important. Office spaces not being tidy, bins not being emptied, people just wanting to work from home, but not really doing any work. When they're being told to come back into the office, there's this big upheaval about, I can't for this reason or that reason. And I believe there's underperformance. And a lot of people saying, Terry, how do you know that there is underperformance? Like I've said, typically speaking in business, if an organization is thriving financially and growing, you are only going to make mass redundancies if those particular roles, those particular jobs are not saving or making or adding genuine value to your organization. Because if those positions could all increase the revenues of the company and the club, they'd all keep their jobs. Or if they're all saving the club money, they would all keep their jobs. I would pay you to whatever you want in salary. If you could, say you wanted £1 million a year to work for the Terrace, but you could guarantee me £1.5 million of income. That means I'm making £500,000 profit. I'm going to pay you that money, but you've got to deliver. So I see a lot of people trying to create sort of some false outrage around this. And until they can show me documentation that these staff were integral to the football club, needed by the football club, and they've sacked them just to save £8 million, I don't want to hear the nonsense. Man United do not have a responsibility to pay people to do jobs that we just don't need them to do.
Yeah, but this is why I said the context matters, Terry, because we don't know the context. Like Mo said it when he first started speaking, and I agree with him. I don't know what the guy that they fired works as.
True.
That's the thing. It could be just because I've been in these type of businesses before. I've seen people get paid for doing fuck all, basically. So I know exactly what it means. Like when we first had a guy in my previous job, when we had a new plant manager, he came in, and for the first week, all he did was fire about 12 people who he just thought just makes no difference to the business and makes no difference to the company and doesn't affect the way we operate or the machinery operates or anything. So he just fired about 12 to 15 people. But he was probably right in that decision, because it did save the company a lot of money in terms of, okay, these 12 jobs are not necessary, they're not needed, and they're made up jobs. Now, if that's the case, then okay, I get it. But if I'm saying if it's a guy working for the cafeteria and shit, it makes it different. So
yeah, I mean, if they've gotten, yeah, exactly. And the moment that there is no reason to suggest this is something sinister. But I remember, in my early, in jobs that I've had, there were people that had almost pointless roles where they would be called area service managers, and they just go around. They were basically fouled at the job they were meant to do, and they were liked by senior management. So they were given a job going around to branch, just checking on service levels. And then what would happen is every time a new regional director would come in, they'd look at all the people that should have been sacked for failing at their jobs, given you'd phrase it as like a job for boys. We have a good drink at the weekend, so I'm going to create this role that doesn't really exist. They were all made redundant and moved on, and everyone was in uproar about it. And I used to sit there and think, it is sad, but their role isn't needed. But that isn't the official role within the organization. And I bet you'll find a lot of that going on. People that there'll be duplicate jobs. But why have we got 4 people why is there 5 people that are the senior content creator? Well, they all look after a different strand of content. One person can do that job. we're hemorrhaging £200,000 a year on people that are doing nothing. Businesses should not and cannot operate that way. And as much as people will say, I love Man United when they were a football club and not a business, all of our clubs are now run as businesses. You can't be turning over half £1 billion to £1 billion a year and not operate like a business. That would be stupid. It really, really would be. So until someone can show me evidence that we've just damaged loads of lives for no reason because they were really efficient, really brilliant, worthwhile and integral staff members to the club, I'm not going to sit there. It's sad, and I don't like to see people being made redundant. I really, really don't. But at the same time, I've just got this gut feeling that it was overinflated, bloated, not insubordinate or lazy, but a workforce that didn't do that much, a bit of job for boys, and now that's over. So yeah, I'm behind it. And if we improve as a football team, that's it. 200k a year compensation to waste in wages on a joke player. But this is the thing. Ineos can't be blamed for any of it. I see people today. Oh, but and look how much Anthony's paid, and yet he's still there. Well, they're not. You can't just. Again, the redundancy for somebody that's earning £30,000 a year is a lot cheaper than someone that's earning £7-8 million a year. So it's not as simplistic as just getting rid of them. You're going to try to get somebody to buy them first, so you don't pay anything. You actually earn money from it. The second element is this. Ineos didn't sign Anthony. They cannot be held accountable for anything that happened before them. What they're accountable for is how they try to improve the football club. And sometimes you have to make really tough, difficult decisions that are not popular. I'm just not against it. I've seen so many organizations have to do this, and it's typically speaking, it's the right thing to do. It really, really is. Not all the time are redundancies right. If for instance, Ineos made some investment choices and it ruined us financially and they had to sack half the staff, I wouldn't defend it because it would be their fault. But this is very different in my humble opinion. This here says a lot of time companies that do a mass reduction in staff, it's the middleman that gets removed. They increase the pay of other staff to take the load and remove unnecessary staff. I mean, and these are conversations which, whenever you speak about these things publicly, people always get their bee in a bonnet. But I think we all think to our professional lives. How many members of staff have you known where you just think, paid that much to do what? I used to have a decent managerial job where I used to look after this sort of complaints team for a bank. And there's a woman that used to work alongside me, but she reported directly into the same boss as me. We worked alongside each other. And all she did, lovely lady, is sit in meetings with him and sit in meetings with the financial ombudsman. But all the data she needed came from me, from my team, because we looked after it. And I used to sit there and say to my boss, why do you need her? I'm not trying to make her lose her job. I said, I have all that information. I present all that information. She's just like a go-between. I said, why don't me and you just have the meetings? He says, oh, because I like her. She's a good friend of mine. Turned out she got made redundant 9 months later because he made her job up. She was just like, and again, and I felt, that's where I felt sorry for her, because it was like, he had the authority to do it. But when someone new came in, they were like, why do we need this person when there's already someone doing that job, but who actually runs and manages that team? And again, my conversation with him was never about trying to remove anybody. It was just a case of, this don't feel right. We're doing the same job, but she doesn't manage anybody day to day. As soon as somebody new came in, exactly what I told him would happen. Bang, she was removed because her job was pointless. And so much of that goes on in corporate organizations. That's why I'm not shocked to see this. I'm not sure if that's in the States or in Jordan, but in the UK, that's a real important thing. Terry and the man got a girlfriend. I didn't. I just asked my boss one day, what else does she do? Because I was new to the team and I was a bit confused. She'd come to my meetings, gather loads of information, and then she'd send an email out to the wider team explaining what, and she used to write, our team's doing. I was confused because she would never introduce me as part of my team. So I spoke to the guy at the time, John, John, I don't understand. I'm not going to say her name, what she does. And he went, oh, basically, she just does some reporting for me. She said it's her team. He goes, yeah, but we have to say that to get her in the role. And I was like, this is weird. I left it at that. We got on fine. I would never try and make anyone lose their job. That's not my bag. But I knew she'd get made redundant one day because she didn't do anything. She just took my reports and emailed them to people. I could have just emailed the same report. But this goes on everywhere. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's 10, 15, 20, 30 of these people that were doing jobs like that at Man United. That just, it's like a nothing job that doesn't really exist. I know of organizations where there's like PAs to the PAs.
That's why context matters. I wish we
Of
had
course.
that.
That's true.
Yeah, that's why they kept Ten Hag, who couldn't do a job.
We'll see if that one works. Speaking of transfers and things that are going on as well. Man United today reportedly very close to a breakthrough with the Ligt deal. I haven't really spoke about this, boys. I know we've done a lot of match reactions together over the Euros, but what do you make of this link for Man United?
I like it. It's cheap. They are asking for 50 million euros. Man United offered 40 million euros. If this ends at 45, which is about 38 million pounds, I said before, yeah, the Ligt failed that. Didn't work out for him at Juventus. Didn't work out for him the best at Bayern Munich. But for 38 million pounds, you're getting someone who's 24 years old. I think it's worth the risk for Manchester United. I definitely think it's worth it. He has all the attributes, right? He has all the attributes to be a top defender. And we have seen it before at Ajax. He was great at Ajax team. Went to Juventus, didn't work out. Went to Bayern Munich, as I said, didn't work out. Same as Kai Havertz. Was great at Bayern Leverkusen. Went to Chelsea, didn't work out.
Mo, you're so typical Mo, man. So
no, I actually like it. I liked it. I actually, when this
Same
was,
as Kai Havertz.
if it was 70 million pounds or 60 million pounds, for 38 million pounds, I don't think there's a lot of loss here. I don't think there's Man United. He can be a bench player. He's good. I think if he starts, he has all the attributes to be a top defender in the Premier League, right? Because of the physicality and all the stuff. Maybe he's not the quickest, but he's still quick. I like the Ligt. And I liked him since he was at Juventus. For some reason, it didn't work out. The problem with Man United is against Erik ten Hag. Erik ten Hag, I don't see a lot of players that got better under Erik ten Hag, that many. So if Erik ten Hag can get the best out of him, I thought he worked under him at Ajax. He got the best out of him, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe that's a good one then. I like this move. I think Man United are moving smart. The cheap option, Dutch international, and I think he has all the attributes to be a top defender, has experience in the international level and in the Champions League and winning leagues before. So I like this move. It's not a bad move at all. People, oh my God, I don't want Ligt. Who do you want? Do you want Van Dijk? Do you want to sign Saliba? Is that how you think you're going to sign at Man United at this current moment?
Yeah, Man United fans need to reduce the level of expectation of players. That's just how it goes. You cannot sit up here and say, "Oh, we want the best of the best" is not available right now to Man United. I look at De Ligt, and I think it's a good signing, but for different reasons. I think this shows that the operations that Man United are going in is a completely different operation now. They're doing things smartly, and I think this is what matters, because you call Everton, you really want Branthwaite. Everton wants 70 million. You hang up the phone, go get someone for half the price tag. And I think this is the smart way to operate, because I'm linking this to the Branthwaite thing. They're both center backs, both left-footed, both can play on that side. You know, both very good, obviously. Or good or whatever. Good, very good. I don't want to overdo it, but like both are good or very good or whatever. And I think when you call Everton and they want 70 million for Branthwaite, you need to find an alternative option. You need to find a better option or an equal level option that's cheaper in terms of price tag. And that's just what they did. And listen, at the end of the day, 38 million, 35 million pounds in today's market is pocket change. This is just pocket change in today's market. I mean, the fact that you know, the likes of Mudryk are going for 100 million and shit. Chelsea, as
the likes of Lenny Yoro is going for 50, 60 million pounds.
Yeah, Lenny Yoro is going
18 years, bro.
Yeah, 50, 60 million pounds. But I just don't get why are you making this about Ten Hag, bro? Why? Can you expand on the Ten Hag?
Okay, I am someone who doesn't trust Ten Hag at all. I think the only player that worked under him, if I'm not mistaken, from the guys that he signed is Lisandro Martinez. Unless I'm not remembering something, and it's only Lisandro. Is there any other player that worked that he signed that actually Casemiro worked for 1 year?
Did he coach De Ligt anyway?
Yeah,
he did coach De Ligt. My point about this is that I am, and that goes for any player. Is it De Ligt? Is it Branthwaite? Is it anybody?
You really believe Ten Hag will fail? I could tell.
I believe most likely, yes. I believe most likely he won't succeed at Man United. Yeah, most likely he won't. If
so
you're asking me, no, here is the difference. Here is what I think, Husam. If they are signing someone like Saliba tomorrow, someone who is great, and I'm just giving you an example. If they're signing someone who's already top player, ready-made, or someone who is on the ascendancy, for example. You know what I mean? I'm going to say, yeah, maybe in the first season, Ten Hag is not going to be able to, the guy is going to play well. Ligt is someone like Kai Havertz. He needs resurrection. He needs someone to revive his career because he was good. There is a reason why he was sold for 70 million euros. Because
he was good at Ajax. You all remember.
He was good at Ajax. So that means you need a coach that will be able to read.
But he was coached by Ten Hag at Ajax. So how does that
but we
make
have
sense?
seen Anthony coached by Ten Hag at Ajax. We have seen this movie before, Husam.
Yeah, but Anthony was never that level of.
But my point, okay, but Husam, you get my point. Eric, if Man United tomorrow are signing, someone give me an example of if Man United tomorrow are signing a Calafiori, someone who had a brilliant season, made Champions League with Bologna, so his arc now is going up. He's on the ascendancy. I'm gonna say maybe Eric Ten Hag is not gonna play a big role here. Maybe Eric Ten Hag is the coaching. If the team is playing well, he's gonna play. This guy, Ligt, Husam, has not been playing well at at Juventus, has not been playing well at Bayern Munich. He needs someone like a Pep Guardiola. For example, Akanji. Dortmund wanted to get rid of the guy. But because Pep is good, the system is great, he went there. Look at him now. Kai Havertz went to Arteta. That's I'm skeptical about Ten Hag, not about Ligt.
So yeah, I think that the skepticism around Ten Hag staying is fair. I understand all the challenge around these signings, and I don't think the argument for it being a bad signing, I don't think these arguments hold no water. So let me be very fair about that. Where I would play devil's advocate from the other side, and where I'm going to be objective, is we haven't seen Ten Hag under this structure at Man United, so I'm going to remain optimistic that it works out. But I think, Mo, what you say holds some serious water. Around De Ligt, I think you're right. Yes, it hasn't worked out elsewhere, but Akanji is such a great example of a player that Dortmund were willing to let go for silly amounts of money, stupidly small amounts of money, and he's flourishing now. And if you tried to buy Akanji now, how much would he cost you? 70, 80 million?
At least.
Yeah, at least, right? So he's gone to that level. What's really interesting about it is the stories have already started to transpire that this is someone that Dan Ashworth was pushing for Newcastle to go and sign. So what's happening at the minute is a lot of people I'm not even saying they're getting confused. There's a lot of, I think, poor journalism going on. So they see that the Ligt, of course, was connected. There's a connection to Ten Hag. Oh, Ten Hag's had a conversation with him. But the media sort of puts out this, so Ten Hag hasn't lost his veto or his power. Boys, we did this on our show, our Straight Fact show a few weeks ago, where we broke down the new Man United structure. And it didn't say that the manager would have no say or no conversations or no input into transfers. It stated that he could select what positions he wanted. The club would then give him a list of players and he would pick from a list of those players. But there'd be players that the club identified, as opposed to the manager just saying, I want a centre-back. This is the guy. And if he wants to veto everybody, he gets to still pick that dude. So it's a process where everybody's involved, as opposed to just. So when I keep seeing, this is just a Ten Hag signing, can't work.
If he wants to veto, so he still has that power.
No. I was talking about.
They already established that ourselves.
Yeah. Hang on a minute. So I was actually stating about. I was making a comparison as opposed to saying he's still got it. The talk is his new deal is going to remove it. The point is, because he won't need a veto. Because the new structure is going to be, I need a centre back, and then he gets given a list of 3, and then he'll pick one. He can pick which one he wants out of those 3, but it's the club that is going to source the players to fill that position. I like that structure. I said it weeks ago when we spoke about it. At the moment, the old structure would be, I need a new centre back. This is the player I want. The club's recruitment team might say, no, we don't think that's the right guy to fit the system. But the manager could veto it and sign him. And I think he's used his veto on a number of occasions. And that's why we've ended up signing players that haven't really made us better.
Anthony, perfect example.
And Anthony, Mason Mount as an example, and others. And I think that having this structure in place is the reason why I'm not going to. I have personal feelings about the players we're signing, but I'm being objective. If it all goes wrong and we don't improve and the new signings are absolutely awful, then again, we need to address the situation. But we are not moving how we normally move in the transfer window. People are trying to twist it into the same thing. I'm seeing that, and that's from the media. Well, I thought that the manager weren't picking players anymore. He's not picking them directly and having full control, but he's played for him before. It's the same as ever. But Dan Ashworth really rates De Ligt and wants to bring him in as an example. Yes, Xerxes is Dutch, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's Ten Hag pushing that deal. We've also got 2 new Dutch coaches in. So clearly there's something about Dutch football and the way Ten Hag has had teams playing in the past that we want to unlock. And that is the you can probably call it a guess, really, because none of us really know, because why the hell are they going to tell us how they're trying to play? But they're bringing in Dutch coaches who are actually managers to come in. They're looking at some more Dutch players. I think what they're going to try and do is really unlock the way Ten Hag was trying to play. What he said in his interview last year might have resonated with them. I came here and haven't been able to, or been asked not to play my style of football, and I'm trying to do it this way. We all said that was crazy. Ten Hag should have been coaching from day one to play his brand of football. He didn't do that. So if they're keeping him, but at the same time we're starting a new club philosophy, then it is a fresh slate, in my opinion, because we're starting all over again. And I know there's skin in the game from him, but I'm quietly optimistic about the signing. I don't think Ligt is as bad as people are making out. Personally, I think that there's a slight exaggeration because he hasn't got to the level we all thought he would 6 years ago. That doesn't mean he isn't a very good defender at 34 million pounds, as an example. We don't know whether he's going to be the mainstay starter. Let's see what happens with Todibo. Let's see what happens with Lenny. Let's see what happens with other Branthwaite and who else we're looking at. But I'm quite happy with the deal, the same as I am with the Ugarte conversation and the Xerxes conversation. I don't think any of those players are world-class elite individuals that are going to make us the best team in England, but I think they're all very capable, very, very, very gifted football players that will make us better. And I'd be quite happy with them and a few more in our first summer. I think that we'll improve as a football team. And when I say improve, again, people are going to take it to the nth degree. I don't mean catching Arsenal and catching Man City, but I think more competent, playing better football, and much, much harder to beat. And if you throw in those three ingredients to this team, that should lead to more wins. So, yeah, I'm quite comfortable.
Some Man United fans are turning into babies, bro. I'm being serious. Wallah, I'm being serious. They're turning into babies. They're turning into.
I can't lie. What Terry said, what is me?
No, like, bro, he made a lot of sense, and I agree. I said that on my show yesterday when I was just talking, and I got a lot of Man United fans that kept saying, "No, but he failed. No, but he failed." But who do you want to sign them? And when your club went and signed the superstars and it didn't work out, you complained as well. And he said the club is moving into the wrong direction. By the way, this guy Ugarte as well, Liverpool wanted him just 2 summers ago.
I still want him now.
They were really trying to sign the guy.
I want him now.
The fact that he went to PSG and it didn't work out doesn't mean he's a bad football player. And I guarantee you, some of the Man United fans, you guys don't wake up in the morning on Saturday and Sunday in the afternoon to watch PSG play, or you watch Bayern play. You don't. You only watch one game of Bayern in the Champions League, and he's benched by Eric Dyer. I've seen this many, many times where defenders, forwards were benched. I'm going to give you one example. When Antonio Conte went to Chelsea, the first year he went and signed a player that is called Alonso. You guys remember the left back? He was the bench player for Fiorentina, and the main player was called Vargas, and he didn't want to sign him. Not every player on the bench. Akanji is an example. Havertz is another example. Not every player, the superstar, is gonna work. Sometimes
I have a problem with what you're saying, Mo.
Hold on.
Because Terry's speech has a lot of trust in Ten Hag. Me and you disagree. I thought keeping Ten Hag was the right decision.
I moved on.
No, but 1 second. I thought keeping Ten Hag was the right decision. You thought it was the wrong decision. My problem with what Terry's saying. 1 second. Let me tell you the problem with what you guys are saying, because you guys are saying the same thing. My issue is the following. My issue is there is still, for me, too much trust in Ten Hag. And I'll tell you why. I still don't think it should be Ten Hag choosing the one out of the 3 players. I still don't believe that. I think this is what genuinely destroyed Man United to begin with, which is letting managers just choose. Now, he's not choosing whoever the hell he wants, which is, of course, it makes it slightly better, which is like, okay, it's not Ten Hag going like, get me this guy and that's it and it's all over. No, they're giving him a list of 3 and they're saying you have to choose one. I get that part. But I'm saying the club needs to choose one, because they need to build the club in the image of the club.
I agree. Yeah, I want to go to you. Let me say something first, please, as I can. I go to you, Mo, 100%. I get your point, Sam. However, the 3 players that will be on the checklist will all be good enough to keep the club moving forward in its own image. So it's almost just the manager's picking, but he's picking 3 players from which the club are all happy for us to sign. So I don't think I think we're already circumventing that trap that you've mentioned. It isn't like we're saying, right, option A is amazing, we want him. And option B, we're worried about. Option C, please don't pick option C. Oh, God, he's picked option C. I think all the options he's given, the club will say all 3 are on a level to make us better. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
but
that way,
Braithwaite and the Ligt are completely different.
but again, if you read the early reports about the Ligt, they're not in isolation of each other. There is when you read the early reports around the Ligt conversation that started on Saturday, Man United are still looking at Braithwaite. There is still a possibility we sign Ligt and Braithwaite as an example.
They need two. They need two. It's
yeah.
They already said that, Husam.
Yeah, but they're both left-sided players. You need a right-sided player.
No, the Ligt is a right-footed player. No, the Ligt is a right-sided.
This is the thing. Like, people in the comments are saying copium. Now, this is the point.
I'm being serious.
I want to throw this out very quickly. People say it's copium. I don't believe, and correct me if you all think I'm wrong.
I'm gonna get water quickly.
That Dan Ashworth and Jason Wilcott and Omar Barada and all of these guys are going to put a player on a shortlist for the manager to pick that they don't think he's good enough. It beggars belief. If I was to turn around to KJ and say, look, I'm going to let you choose a new employee, but I'm going to create the shortlist. You then pick the final candidate. The whole of the shortlist is going to be full of people that could do the job. I wouldn't put anybody on the shortlist who wasn't good enough. It wouldn't make any sense. So I think it's, again, I just don't see it, the problem with what we're doing as of right now. I don't think there's too many holes in it. We're a work in progress. I think Man United fans, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of babies. I think there's an element of they want the new shiny toy and they want players where everybody goes, oh, I'm so gutted United got them. But we've done that for a decade and it's failed. Why are we asking the new owners to do the same thing where we've failed? That's the confusing bit for me, bruv. That's the confusing bit for me.
Listen, I sat here with Terry about like weeks ago and I said I'm against Ten Hag. I don't think it's going to work. I moved on. I'm not going to sit here on every single show and just cry and say Eric Ten Hag this, Eric. I'm not a Man United fan. I moved on. I'm now assessing every signing on its own. And I'm saying my opinion about Ten Hag clearly that I'm skeptical about him. But they literally chose Ten Hag. We got to move on. They're not going to change Ten Hag now, Man United fans. They aren't. If you're complaining, and I'm not, I'm moving on from that. He has to get the players, and he has to work with them, and the board trusted him, and the board gave him the contract. We just move on. Move on. Husam, this is a response to you. I'm going to move on from this Ten Hag thing. I'm not going to sit on every single show and scream and yell about Man United keeping the let's move on. Assess the sign.
I'm not asking you to yell. I'm telling you the thing that if I'm listening to this as someone who supports Man United, this is the part that would worry me. Because it is true, over the last 2 years, Eric Ten Hag's transfer decisions are one of the reasons why Man United are in this position. So I'm not saying he's making the transfer decision, but the fact that he's choosing could be a bit of a worry. And I feel like Braithwaite and De Ligt are different types of players. Braithwaite, obviously, you have the homegrown thing. He's English. He has Premier League experience, completely different. While De Ligt is a player that played already under Ten Hag. That's the thing. It's like, okay, I'll give you an example more. I'll give you an example. It's exactly like the Dewsbury Hall thing to Chelsea. It's like a Chelsea fan trying to convince you that it's not a Maresca decision. Now, obviously, Ten Hag is involved in the De Ligt thing some way, somehow. Not without having all the power. There must be some form of power in him getting him.
But that's Husam. Okay, you are so obsessed with Michael Edwards. You're so obsessed, Husam, with this thing. You're so obsessed. I'm being serious. Husam, you say on every show with me and every show on your channel, you are so obsessed with proving the point that managers are only coaches now. That is never going to happen in football. Ask anyone that worked in professional football, even Pep Guardiola. At the end, they choose their preference because they are the ones that are going to work in, day in, like every day on the football.
Your veins are popping when I said something opposite to what you're saying.
Husam, you are every time.
I said exact opposite of what you're saying.
Husam, be serious. You think the player should be just given to the coach without him having any say? It's so strange.
100%, yes.
That tells me you don't know anything about how professional football works and you never asked any coach about it. No coach, Husam, just be serious. Ask any coach in these clubs. The coach gives them a priority. They say, I want this and I prefer that and I prefer this. Yeah, maybe it does. Sometimes they say, no, we don't think this guy, and they convince the coach. But what you're saying, that the coach wakes up someday and finds this player on the pitch, that doesn't work, bro. It never
a coach
happened in
can say
football,
that he wants a specific. A coach can say that he
You're
wants
so
a
obsessed
specific position.
with this.
Okay,
Might
Mo,
be
let me
interesting.
speak.
It's
Your
amazing.
veins are popping. Drink some water before you get high
I
blood
will
pressure.
drink some water.
We're not talking about AC Milan or Juve. Relax.
No, my God.
Italy are out already. Drink some water. Now
What
back
does
to
it
the
have to do
topic.
with Italy, akhi?
No, I don't exaggerate to prove a point. Don't always go to the extreme.
No, you are.
You're going to the extreme. I'm giving you, okay, let's look at my club since you brought up my club. 8 years with club. The 4 years in which we were successful, it was nerds behind the computer screen that were making transfer decisions. The 4 years where we were unsuccessful and only won 2 Carabao Cups and an FA Cup, nothing like to write home about. It was a manager and an assistant making transfer decisions. Man United's problem over the last 10 years to begin with is the fact that Mourinho made transfer decisions and Van Gaal made transfer decisions and Ten Hag made transfer decisions. I'm just saying that I get it. It's not Ten Hag purely making the decision, and that's what makes it better. So I acknowledge Terry's point. I'm saying, yes, I agree with you 100%. He's given a list of 3 and he should choose. What I'm saying is Ten Hag needs to choose the position in which he wants a player, and then it's upon the club to go get a player and choose him. So I'm not nullifying
but guys, I think there's elements of truth to both here. What I will say is this is where the manager should have a say. Let's just say at all of our clubs, like we've said, let's say they want a new midfielder and we find 2 that are good enough. Choice between the 2. If you find 3 that are good enough, choice between the 3, let the manager get involved. If you only find 1 that's good enough, that's who he's getting. And I think that's the sort of crux of this conversation. Man United have allowed, the same as Liverpool allowed after Edwards left, your managers to sign players that didn't meet the standard. As long as you are not allowing players who don't meet the standard to be on the table, it doesn't matter whether the manager gets to pick the 1 out of the 3 or he's just given the best one because they're all good enough. And I think that as long as you have your structure in that, and there's not always going to be 3 options because sometimes there aren't 3 attainable players that meet that standard in a particular position. So that's why I'm remaining cautious. And yes, CFC Rakmar, I have said that I just want him to be a head coach. I haven't said I don't want him to have an input. What I have said is I don't want him to have seniority and be managing other areas of the football club. There's a fundamental difference in those things. There's some super chats here. The first one says, big up, guys. Happy almost the 4th of July. I'm getting a Spain Rodri jersey. Trivia. Tell me one player who was named man of the match in the World Cup final, Champions League final, and a Euros final. Looking great. I'm going to throw in Zidane. I'm just going to throw Zidane in. I think Iniesta could have got that.
Iniesta, I think so. Maybe Iniesta.
Yeah, I think it's
might be Iniesta.
Iniesta.
I can only think
Iniesta or Xavi, one of them, possibly one of them.
No, in a World Cup final, from Spain, it's only
because Euro 2008, it easily could have been Xavi.
Yeah, but the one that won I think the one that got man of the match in the World Cup final that Spain played is Iniesta. So
Iniesta,
if you're gonna choose from Spain, it has to be Iniesta.
Iniesta's the answer. Yeah, he just
is it? Oh, there it is. Iniesta. Cool. There we go. I thought it might have been Zidane, but yeah, I mean, it could only have been about.
Zidane got a red card in the World Cup final, so yeah, but he won the World Cup '98.
But he won the World Cup in '98. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
it's the Euros final that Zidane never got a man of the match in.
Yeah, because in 2000.
But wait, which Champions League final did Iniesta get a man of the match in?
The one that he won against Juventus.
Okay. Makes sense.
I think he's the one who won man of the match against Juventus.
Oh, fair.
I didn't know that. Obviously, like you know for a fact, Zidane got the man of the match against Leverkusen with that goal. You just know he got it. Like no matter what else he did, he got it. That goal would have tipped it over the edge. So yeah, most definitely. Sorry.
Super chat.
So yeah, no, I was reading one. I've already read it. Okay. Mo wants United to foul so he can piss on Ten Hag. That's from Safe.
This is Safe, your stalker. Right?
Yeah, Safe. Just because I'm so obsessed of being right, Safe. You have no idea. If I'm not right, bro, I am so obsessed, Safe. Like if I'm not right, if Erik ten Hag succeeds and I'm not right, bro, I won't show face on the football terrace.
If Erik ten Hag succeeds next season, you're gonna get cooked more than me. You know this. You know this. You're gonna get cooked more than the Liverpool.
Bro, I'm so upset, bro. I won't show face on the football terrace. You won't see me.
No, you're gonna show face, but then you're gonna get cooked.
I love it. This year says how many players in the early mid 2000s, I think, early mid 20s. Sorry, I'm being stupid. With the experience of the Ligt, can clubs get for less than 50 million? There's almost none. It's a great signing if done. Patrick, I think there's so much truth in that as well. I just think he's not a shiny new toy anymore. Everybody's upset because he hasn't progressed. I don't think, again, if the stories are true and the Ashworths and the Wilcocks are pushing for him, then I trust it. I genuinely trust it. But again, at £34 million, it's not this huge risk that you can't move on. And even the wages are reported to be quite conservative. It isn't like we're paying a £90 million and 400 grand a week, and then if he flops, you're stuck with him. So yeah, I'm not as stressed as some people are. Big rumor of mysterious German international player joining Arsenal after the Euros. Which one makes sense and which is more realistic? Kimmich, Sane, or Musiala? It's Kimmich, isn't it? It's got to be of those three.
The only realistic one on that thing, anyway. It ain't gonna be Sane or Musiala.
Maradon says, "Wait, so you are backtracking on everything you said about seven Haag now?" No, I'm not. I have stood by what I said, Maradon. You've watched the shows. You watch everything I do every single day. You spend a good proportion of your life watching me, which I respect. And you know what I have said? It wouldn't have been my choice. I think if Ten Hag was removed, I believe that we could have progressed into a new system and style faster. The people that know more about me than Man United, the board of directors, took it upon themselves to say that's not what they believe, and they've stuck with him. I said I'm going to be objectively supportive about it. That's all I am doing. Doesn't mean I don't still hold my beliefs, but I can be objective because my brain works in that way. That's all, my friend. This here, Maradona is just. I think Maradon's like. I think he has it on his like top of his fridge as a lifelong ambition is to try and catch me out. But he could do it because I make mistakes. But he always goes for the wrong stuff. It's like, well, everyone knows what I've said all along. I want him gone, but if he stays, I'm going to be objective about it. I don't know why he comes to me on that. It's crazy. The funny thing is the players that were linked to other clubs. Sorry, the funny thing is the same players that are linked to other clubs get them. They'll call them brilliant business. Yet this fan base calls them mediocre and says the club doesn't know what it's doing. Yeah, I mean, it's just. It doesn't mean I like all the signings.
I understand why, though. It's a bit of PTSD as well. Like we have to.
No, but that's the bit where I'm pushing back. It's people say trust is earned. I understand the concept of that, but the first time I met Husam, I maybe wouldn't have told him my deepest, darkest secrets, but I had the respect for him as a man to have trust that he would come on the terrace and behave in the correct way and conduct himself, properly and be a nice guy. I didn't say, yeah, I'm going to treat him like a child until the day he's earned my trust. That's a weird. You'll find that you'll have a really bad relationship with people in general if you are untrusting to any capacity in them, and you lack the ability to be objective with them until they've earned your trust. I feel like it's a very narcissistic way to view the world. But then you see the people that believe in that, and you look at their general views of the world, it's exceedingly narcissistic. So maybe there's something in that, it's just weird. I don't understand why people can't just go, you know what? Not happy with everything. I'm going to stay cool, calm. I keep seeing people say this, though. I'm done with United now. I'm like, I hope you are, and you just stop moaning about it then. But you won't be. You're not done with United. You'll be moaning tomorrow on Twitter and then the next day. But there we go. Is Husam still lying? Nunez, the top scorer of Copa America. Terry, always check what this fraud says. Straight facts with the liar. You've been called out.
Eddie, this is so hilarious because this super chat makes it like I defend Nunez or I want him to do well. Bro, I cannot stand Darwin Nunez. Like, I cannot stand him. And at the time, it was before Lisandro. If it was before, why did I say it? Am I lagging? I'm good now, I think.
You're a little bit
back.
Yes, I'm good.
Back.
That was before he scored the That was before Lautaro Martinez scored the 2 goals. They were both on 2 goals. So I wasn't lying. Nunes is crap. I'd sell him tomorrow. I don't know why you try to act like I'm dying on that hill.
I wanted to ask you boys, Arsenal, Calafiori, interesting transfer. And I'll tell you why it's an interesting transfer, a transfer for me, potential transfer, is it would prove that you don't just write off foreign media because they're not a fashionable journalist, because the Italian press has been talking about this for over a week now, that Arsenal have got a genuine interest and they're looking at him. Sports Witness reported this morning that a monster offer has been proposed. You've now had Fabrizio not say that the deal is, not say that an offer has gone in, but Fabrizio has said, and I want to make sure I'm quoting him correctly here. I think I bookmark it. I think he said something along the lines of the paths, Damasio, sorry, he said the paths of Riccardo Calafiori and Arsenal are getting closer and closer. And Fabrizio said, and I want to make sure I read out what he stated to be correct. So apologies, gents. I thought I had it bookmarked, but I didn't. So now I've got to search it and wait for it to load, and my computer's running slowly. He stated that Arsenal have presented a long-term proposal to Calafiori after interest revealed last week, and he understands that the player is open to joining them. So this is sort of, a lot of people wrote this off maybe 4 or 5 days ago. No chance, Arsenal not involved. It's just paper talk. Now Fabrizio sort of confirms a similar story from this morning, that an offer has been made and that the player is open to joining Arsenal. Obviously, you watch a lot of Serie A as an Inter fan, Mo. What do you make of this as a piece of business potentially for Arsenal?
Let's ask the Italian.
Great. It's a great. Okay, so it's a great signing, but I don't think the player should go to Arsenal. I actually don't think the player should go to Arsenal. I think he should go to Liverpool. I get that Arsenal are trying to build from a player's perspective. From Arsenal perspective, I salute Arsenal. I clap. I say brilliant. If you can get this over the line, brilliant business. This is how you build a winning team. But from a player's perspective, I think he wouldn't start for Arsenal with Timber, Gabriel, Saliba, and Ben White. And I get what people are saying, that, oh my God, we're trying to build a team. For Arsenal, it's great. The fans should be very happy that the club is moving in the right direction. And I'm not trying to be controversial. I said that yesterday. I said Liverpool should be all over this deal. He goes to Liverpool. He allows them to play 3 at the back. If Konate is injured, Van Dijk moves to the right side, which is he can do. We've seen it at the Euros. He can do it. And Calafiori plays at the left center back. I actually, to be honest, I am thinking if this slipping from underneath Michael Edwards' hands, people should start asking questions. If the wages that are reported and that
if this slips, sorry, this slipped.
If this slips under Michael Edwards' hands and he goes to Arsenal, Michael Edwards questions should be asked. And I'm not going to turn this into a Liverpool thing. For Arsenal, he's a brilliant signing. Can play left center back, can play left back. This is Arsenal. So from Arsenal's perspective, this is Arsenal moving like, okay, now we are going to the ready players. This guy helped Bologna get to the Champions League for the first time, right? So he is, as you saw in the Euros, every time I watched this guy, he looked brilliant at Bologna. When they played Juventus, when they played Inter, he looked absolutely fantastic. So for Arsenal, it's a brilliant piece of business, right? It's a brilliant piece of business for Arsenal. But Liverpool have to be looking at themselves, and the fans are saying, Michael Edwards this, Michael Edwards that. Why aren't Liverpool all over this deal? And also, the wages that are reported are very small, are less than 100K a week. Why aren't Liverpool moving for this guy? I don't know. Arsenal, if they can get this over the line for 50 million euros, as reported this morning, and less than 100K a week, this is a fantastic and a brilliant signing. Now Arsenal are moving like Man City. They're getting ready-made players to be benched for them. But But who
told you Calafiori will be benched? That's the part I don't get.
Where is he going to start?
They play 4 center-backs. They don't play 1.
There is Timber, Ben White, Gabriel, Saliba. Where would he start?
Left back.
And Timber?
I don't think Timber is a guarantee. Timber and Ben White can fight for the right back position. I think left back is where Calafiori starts. You put Saliba and Gabriel.
You spun my head.
What do you mean? No, Timber and Ben White can fight for the right back position. Why should it be guaranteed? Timber was out all year, all the time last year as well. Why are you acting like he's a guaranteed? You know, he's gonna play and he's gonna cook and all this. We don't know that yet. We don't know that yet. We have to see that first for us to talk about it.
I thought Timber, when he came in the last part of the season, he played as a left back, and Ben White is the starting player for the right back. He already formed.
And now Ben White.
Okay.
Yes, and now Ben White and Timber can fight for who starts right back.
Bro, Ben White already formed that union with Saka and Odegaard on that side and Saliba.
No, what union? Playing 3 games is not union, Mo.
3 games. Bro, they played 2 seasons together. These 4 players. Saliba, Ben White, Odegaard, Saka has been played on that right side for the past 2 seasons together.
Oh, you're talking about the right side. No, that's not my point. I'm not saying Ben White should be dropped. I'm saying him and Timber are going to fight for that spot. I think Calafiori, if I'm in Calafiori's position, I'm going Arsenal because of the continuity, the sustainability, the fact that they've challenged for a title race in 2 years, the fact that Liverpool are extremely unserious. We are the smallest big club in the transfer window ever known to mankind. It's funny because, you know, Mo's saying, oh, Michael Edwards should be all over this deal. I was talking about Calafiori, Mo can vouch, and Terry before this Euros thing happened, before any of that happened. Listen, Liverpool don't win transfer sagas. Liverpool don't win transfer wars. If 2 clubs are in for a player, it's very rare that they end up choosing us. And I think one of the main attractions for Liverpool was the fact that Jurgen Klopp was manager. Now that Jurgen Klopp is no longer manager, I think we find it even more difficult to attract players, in my honest opinion. So I think, look, it makes sense for Arsenal. It makes sense for Liverpool. He would definitely start for us. And he would he guaranteed starter for us versus might face competition at Arsenal, but over at Liverpool, guaranteed starter. And I would take him tomorrow happily. I've been shouting at Liverpool fans who still say the same typical crap every single summer. Oh my God, wait till the transfer window is closed. And then when the transfer window closes, just get behind the lads. There's nothing we can do about it now. It's just the typical same old crap for the last 3 years. Everyone knows in the summer, it's more Husam versus Liverpool fans than anyone else, to be fair. So, yeah, I'd sign him tomorrow, happily. You're on mute, Terry. We can't hear you.
Very sorry. Some news that came through. Look, personal news that is. So, look, I think Calafiori is an interesting talent. I didn't know too much about him before the Euros. Very aware of that. I thought he's been excellent at the Euros. It's still then about doing your research. And I don't just mean watching compilations. I don't just mean looking at Y-Scout. It's important to read reports on him, what professionals have said. And it's important to go back and read them. From not what people are saying now. Go back 6 months, go back 9 months, go back a year. Because the predictions within those scouting reports and then what he is now doing and producing are such a key indicator to somebody's development and their ability. If people now are like, oh, wow, he could be the next big thing. So, okay, what were you writing about him a few months ago? Nothing. There's the first article you've done on him. You can't even watch him enough. If there's someone out there, if you go and find a scouting report where someone's spoken about him 3 years ago, spoken about him 9 months ago, and spoken about him again now, and they all interconnect, and you can see the growth of the player. There's so much about him that I've read, so much about him that is excellent, but it is ability at the moment. Of course, there is some delivery within that, but it's about what he can be. I think that he's a very good signing for Arsenal from the perspective of what he could become. I also like the fact that he has the ceiling and the ability to really challenge Saliba, to really challenge Gabriel, to go into a left-back position if it's needed. And you will get Arsenal fans that say you can't break up the best centre-back pairing in the league. And I get that as a general base rule. First game of the season, you can't just be changing it round. But let's just say that Gabriel pulls his hand, ruptures his hamstring. First game of the season is out for 2 months. Someone like Calafiori coming in, he has the ability not only to play well, but to develop. And then Gabriel could come back and not be able to get back into the team. Now, as a club, that's where you should want your squad to be. You should want it to be in a position where the guy that's the sub could come in and maintain a first-team position and keep out the guy that you now see as the star. That is where Man City are. That is where the Real Madrids and the Barcas, the Man Uniteds, the Liverpools, at their peak. That's what they had. The Milans, what they had. And I think that... Well, exactly. So from my point of view, I think this is a really interesting signing. I think that there is, again, this isn't someone who's ready-made, and not every signing should be. Not every signing has to be a 28-year-old that's in his pomp right now, because what you might not get from a 28-year-old top class centre back is someone who's willing to play second fiddle to begin with. But someone like Calafiori may see it as an option. My only worry for him is that he is leaving Italy too early. So if I was advising him, it would be, I know he's a little bit, was he 21 or am I mistaken?
22, yeah. It's too young, yeah.
22.
He's a young player. He's a young player.
He's young. He's not as young as the 17, 18-year-olds that break through. You know, the João Felixes of this world, the Renato Sanchez's that moved on too early. He is that little bit older. He's moving towards his mid-20s. So he's got far better chance of handling it now. It's not about being Premier League proven. It's about the age you are, moving countries, moving cultures, your life. Because it's definitely going to be different moving from where he lives now in Italy to London, if indeed that deal goes through. But what's also very interesting about this is don't rule out Chelsea. Because Chelsea are interested and Chelsea are also monitoring him. And I had a feeling, and this is something I've been wrong about, that I didn't think he would leave. And he may still stay, but I didn't think he would leave. The story now is that he's open to joining Arsenal. I believe he'll be open to joining Chelsea as well. I don't believe it'll be an exclusive thing to Arsenal. And we know what Chelsea do in these battles, don't we, Sam? They do it. So I would say watch out for Chelsea in this as well. And I think both of them may end up bidding for this guy. Do you think Chelsea could be a good move for him, or do you think he should steer clear? What's your take on that, gents?
Before Husam goes on, can you just add something? Terry, he already played 1 year outside of Italy. In Basel.
Oh, did he? I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay, right.
Your regular Italian defender. He played in the Swiss league for Basel last season. So it's a little. This is why, by the way, that's why he's openly open to move outside of Italy, because he experienced that before. Different than your normal Italian defender that are okay. Now I don't want to change the culture. I'm just gonna live here. So he went to a different culture, and Basel is more of a German culture. If I'm not, Basel is more of that German culture. So he moved outside of Italy before. Go ahead.
That makes sense.
Someone
Yeah,
need to land about Calafiori, and if he goes to Chelsea, he's a dumbass. I don't want him at my football club if he goes to Chelsea. Like I would completely say he's just an idiot at that point. There is no need for Calafiori. He's a Champions League caliber player. He's a high-level, top-level player. He's definitely not a Conference League player. He's putting his career at too much risk going to Chelsea. He's going to get managed by Maresca, but then if Todd Bowley doesn't like, Maresca's eyeshadow, he's going to sack him in December, and then he's going to get a new manager and shit like that. He definitely shouldn't go to Chelsea. I think that would be the equivalent of career suicide. When it comes to Arsenal, as a Liverpool fan, I can admit, yes, they're more attractive than us right now. Sustainability, continuity, same manager, blah, 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 Champions League football. We both have, to be fair, but they've been in it last season, quarterfinals. So I think it's different. But Chelsea, and it's just such a bad decision by Calafiori. He is a level above Chelsea. He's Champions League quality player. Why should you go from Bologna to Chelsea to begin with? Bologna are in the Champions League anyway. Like the worst that could the worst that could happen is you get eliminated in the Champions League group stages. But you play against a Real Madrid and you impress, or you play against a Barca, a Bayern, etc., and you impress. So he needs Champions League football.
Did you have the same about Olise? Just asking. Did you say the same about Olise? I can't remember. I'm asking.
You're comparing Calafiori to Olise?
Okay, so Olise's move to Chelsea was not a suicide, but Calafiori.
Yeah, but I didn't think he should move to Chelsea.
Okay.
Why are you fighting me with that when I'm
not fighting.
You,
I'm just
that was the day when Terry stopped talking because he was like defending United.
Sam, I'm just asking.
Yeah, I said Olise should go to
United. So you don't think any top player should move to Chelsea?
Top player, no, right now. No.
And you think Calafiori is a top player? He's like
no, not top player, on the way to becoming top.
So player. How do Chelsea get better then? If they aren't signing Calafiori and Olise, why do you want Chelsea? How do you want Chelsea to get better then?
Okay, before I speak, I'll answer your question. First, let me finish. So when it comes to Calafiori, I think he's an absolute idiot if he goes to Chelsea because he's a Champions League quality player. Now, how do Chelsea get better? By signing Premier League experienced players like Tosin Adarbayo and others who have been there, done that, who can get to top four, who can get to that level. Players on the brink of. Now, Olise, his options were Man United and Chelsea. Both aren't in the Champions League more. The difference with Calafiori is two clubs, actually not two clubs, because Leverkusen want him and PSG want him, all in the Champions League, and then Chelsea are in the conference. Why the fuck should you go to a Conference League club? That's the wrong decision. Me and you both know that. So let's not go there.
But you had the same. But that's how Chelsea signing good players to get back to the Champions League.
Yes, Chelsea need to sign good players to get into the Champions League, but I'm talking from Calafiori's perspective, not from Chelsea's perspective. Of course, Chelsea should want him. I'm saying from Calafiori's perspective, he shouldn't go.
But if he's the guy, if they present the
But what? You yoga instructor.
there is
Stop
no
switching and twisting my narrative.
I am not.
I'm saying from Calafiori's perspective, but you refuse to listen. But. There is no but from Calafiori's perspective.
All right.
I have 5 Champions League clubs looking at me and Chelsea, who changed their manager when the weather is changed. They're in the Conference League. They're a level below me. Why should
I agree with that
narrative?
narrative. But hear that. I agree with that narrative. But hear me out. If he goes to Chelsea and they sell him the project, we're signing the likes of, I don't know who they're signing, by the way. They are going for Nico Williams. We're signing Nico Williams. We're signing you. We're going to build this project. We're going to get back to Champions League. Yes, we aren't on the same level of Arsenal, but we are making you one of the main pieces of signing that. Yes, I agree that he should move. If Liverpool are coming in and he's guaranteed a start, yes, he should move to Liverpool. But I'm saying that if Arsenal cannot guarantee him a starting place, right? And he's going to go to Chelsea and be one of the main pieces in that team. I'm not saying that Chelsea are on the same level of Arsenal. I think you are twisting my words, right? You think that he goes to Arsenal and guarantees a starting place. I don't think so. If that is the case, I agree with you here. But I'm building my whole narrative that he doesn't go to Arsenal and guarantee the starting place. He goes to Chelsea tomorrow. I think he starts over everyone for them.
And I mean, listen, I understand to a degree where Husam is coming from,
but
I do think it's heavily.
You know, see what pisses me
off.
What question?
Sometimes? Can you ask me the question directly without yelling and shouting?
Is he guaranteed starter at PSG? Yes or no? Is he guaranteed starter at PSG?
Yes, but I don't think I moved to a PSG.
Okay, خلاص عادي. There's no need to fight. Yes. Is he a guaranteed starter at Bayer Leverkusen?
I don't know about Bayer Leverkusen, to be honest.
Mo, don't be disingenuous and shameless.
I don't.
Be real.
I don't.
You know he's gonna start over.
I don't know. I don't know Bayer Leverkusen.
More than likely, he will be a guaranteed starter.
Okay.
You know this. Is he a guaranteed starter at Liverpool?
Okay, so are you saying that Bayer Leverkusen? Okay, so
I just named 3 Champions League clubs. That
hold on, let's stick to Bayer Leverkusen. Let's stick to Bayer Leverkusen. Are you saying with a straight face that you think Bayer Leverkusen at the current moment, who their manager, the manager that won them the league, openly said that he's gonna go to Real Madrid, and Real Madrid already lining up the things that he's gonna leave, so he's gonna go join Bayer Leverkusen. You're saying that is more attractive than Chelsea at the current moment? I'm just want to get an answer. Yes or no answer, by the way. By the way,
thing is, guys, I get your guys. I get your arguments, right? The thing is this: I understand that. I can understand that you could have the train of thought, which, yeah, sorry, bro. I think you could have the thought that going to Chelsea right now with the situation they've been in is a bad move for a player. I think that is Chelsea fans don't like hearing it, but it's a logical thought. However, I do think when it comes to Chelsea, Mo, you've still got a lot of bitterness due to the Caicedo situation and the Lavia situations last year. Personally,
no,
I think there's a bit of that inside you.
That
I think there's. Okay.
To make, not you.
No, I think. Let me finish. I think there's a bit of bitterness still there.
No, there isn't bitterness at all.
Hang on. Okay. Well, it comes across like there is. I will take your word that there isn't. But I think you're being disrespectful to Chelsea. I have criticized some of the players they've been linked to this summer, like Duran and the striker from the Samu Odorimian or Mandalorian or whatever his name was, right? For me, that was poor. Tossin and Dewsbury Hall, I think, are really good bits of business for them. If they are serious about getting back to the top, this is where I need to not be a hypocrite. My concern for them was if they're only going for the Durans and the like, they're never going to have a good enough amount of quality to get back to where they were, because those players, in my opinion, are not going to develop. They have to be going for if they're going to go for young players, it has to be Calafioris, it has to be Enzo Fernandez's, it has to be Caicedo's, who have a genuinely high ceiling to develop into. If you're buying Durans and the likes of this, even at their pomp, they're probably only going to be high mid-table players. So I think if you're Chelsea, and I know it's a harder sell now than it was 2 years ago because they've had some failings, but first team football, you're still in the Premier League. We've got this new manager. We've got these young players. This is how much money we're spending. This is where we see ourselves. I don't think it's crazy and inconceivable that a player still couldn't be sold on that. You know, Man United have gone through this for a decade where we've done badly. No one's going to sign for you now, and we've still been able to sign people. Now, if we'd have had our structure right, if we'd have had our ducks in a row, if we'd have had the correct decision-making at the club, it may not have been those direct people we signed, but we still could have signed quality. Chelsea is still an attractive, top-level football club. I don't think it's a bad example at all. Just because you've signed the wrong players doesn't mean that you've got bad pull. Chelsea can still bring in top-quality players. They've just got to make sure they're the right players. They've got to make sure the structure is right and they're buying the right individuals. I don't think that Calafiori would be an idiot for joining Chelsea. It's risky. It may not go in the way in which he wants it to, but all it takes is a couple of players like Calafiori's level with what they've already signed and then a goal scorer. And this Chelsea team could be well back within the Champions League this season. And then they go on to sign those players you've mentioned. I think it's a safer bet trying to sign a
from Chelsea's perspective. I'm talking about it from Calafiori's perspective. This is what you guys are both missing in this argument.
No,
I'm not saying Chelsea
shouldn't
want Calafiori. No, I'm not saying Chelsea shouldn't want Calafiori. That's not what I'm arguing. I'm saying Calafiori right now has 5 contracts on his table. He should not choose Chelsea because it's a Conference League club currently, and he's a Champions League quality player. He needs to be able to play Champions League football. He needs to be able to play in that competition because he's of that quality. If I have 2 contracts on the table, Arsenal and Chelsea, I'm taking the Chelsea one and I am tearing it apart and I'm burning it because Arsenal are way better than Chelsea right now. It has nothing to do with bitterness about Lavia and Caicedo. Lavia ain't played all year long. Caicedo, we made them cry at Wembley. There's no bitterness. There's zero bitterness. I speak facts about Chelsea, and it hurts the Chelsea fans' feelings because they'd rather hear comfortable lies than uncomfortable truths. I'm not saying they shouldn't want him. I'm saying he shouldn't want them. Those are two different things.
But that's where I disagree. I understand why it maybe came across that way. I'm painting the Chelsea perspective in which you would sell to Calafiori. So yes, they're a Conference League team right now, but they're gigantic Chelsea who are in the Conference League, who have a lot of very good young players, who have a new and exciting manager that so far have signed Tosin, so far have signed Dewsbury Hall. If you're turning around to Calafiori and saying, look, unlike Arsenal or unlike this team, we can give you first team football. We've bought these 2 individuals. We're also going to. Well, I think Dewsbury Hall's a very good. I think Dewsbury Hall is a kind of player. Look,
Dewsbury Hall is to begin with.
It doesn't matter. Maybe he doesn't. It's irrelevant whether he does or he doesn't. Your football team is at its best period in your lifetime with Jordan Henderson and Ronaldo as your midfield players.
And Mo Salah and Mane and Van Dijk.
Exactly. Hang on. Let me exactly. But a Dewsbury Hall is sometimes the type of player who helps knit things together. Because sometimes your team at your pomp was not the same without Jordan Henderson, even with all those stars. So for me, I still think you can sit in a room with Calafiori, and Arsenal might be more attractive on the surface. And of course they are. But you could sit there in a room with him and say, this is what we're doing. This is who we're buying. This is where we're going to be. And you could sell that dream as him being a key integral player from the beginning to get you to another level. That is a motivation for some people. So the point I'm making is it is not inconceivable that Chelsea could sell him an overall package that attracts him to the football club. And for you to say he just shouldn't want to go there for love nor money, I think is disingenuous to the chance of towards Chelsea's ability to recapture themselves. I'm not saying every single decision they're making is right, but I don't think they've lost their pull, and I don't think they're unattractive to football players.
But I've never said those things. I've never said those things. I'm not saying they're unattractive and they've lost their pull. If you're in Calafiori's position, Terry is in Calafiori's position. Are you going to Arsenal or Chelsea?
Depends on the package. Depends on what I'm promised. Depends on what I'm told. Give me the variables, and we can work the equation out. The point I'm making is no, but this is the thing. If I'm going to start for both, maybe. But where am I starting at Arsenal? Is it going to be centre back, or am I playing left back and centre back? What games am I starting in? What's my role going to be?
Back at Arsenal.
How much? Yeah. How much are you paying me compared to Chelsea?
Yeah, but then I can also repeat the same question for PSG, for Liverpool. Like, I'm not saying
but this is the point I'm making. I'm asking.
Other options are more attractive.
No, but what you stated, I'm probably paraphrasing slightly, is that he shouldn't want to go to Chelsea. I'm
Yes,
stating
because
that
he's a
depends on what the
Champions League
packages
caliber
are.
player, and they aren't in the Champions League right now. He's okay.
That
You know what? I actually
that's
get the
one
problem.
strand. That's one strand, and there's multiple other things you're ignoring. Is
Important
what we're
strand.
stating.
Okay, but I think I actually know the problem here. The issue with the argument is how highly we're rating Calafiori. This is the issue. What we're arguing. How highly I rate Calafiori.
Good point.
I think, and this is where me and you completely disagree. I think I rate Calafiori higher than you both. Like, I put him as a guaranteed starter for Arsenal, for Liverpool, for PSG, for all these clubs. Like, I think he's that quality of a player. So I think he's not world class, but he's the player who's ready to become a world class player. Don't interrupt me more. So that's why when I say I don't think he should go to Chelsea, I'm rating the player that high, in which if I have a contract offer table from Arsenal, from Liverpool, from PSG, from Bayern Munich, from whoever, I'm choosing the Champions League caliber club right now over a project because I'm not.
I want to ask him a question, Terry, before we go on. Just one question. I want to see.
Go.
Sam, if he's between Bayern Leverkusen and Manchester United now, what would you advise him to do? I want to. Yes, I want to see the logic.
I mean, with Xabi Alonso leaving, it might be just like a temporary thing with Bayer Leverkusen. So I said this even last season. Last season, I told Arsenal fans that Liverpool are more attractive than them, on straight facts, because 1 year doesn't change it. So I'd say probably right now, Man United over Leverkusen in terms of attraction levels.
But Liverpool over Leverkusen. Oh, so Chelsea over Liverpool.
Over attraction levels, yes, of course.
Okay. Man United over PSG, is that something we can just sit here?
No, I would say PSG over
because
United
he's going to play.
No, PSG over United right now.
I just wanted to know if you're holding Chelsea to a lower level than Man United, because
I just feel yeah. No, I get that, and that's the point is, Mo, and I think maybe it's not Mo, Husam. I think where we're missing each other is I understand, because I would say that if I was Calafiori, Arsenal would be a bigger preference for me than Chelsea, but it's the way you're making it sound like he shouldn't even consider Chelsea for love nor money. Depends on the packages that clubs offer, and Tevin says this here, and it's probably. But you're discounting everything. This year says all of these points for Chelsea were always used against Arsenal when we were not in the Champions League, and same for Man United. That's why I'm probably pushing back. Calafiori said Chelsea is the team he'd join. Send me the link, bro. I'd love to read that story.
Ketchup, mayonnaise, mustard.
His friends on the coffee shop.
Your friend told you.
Husam, please just give me 3 players that are examples of career suicide that are signed for Chelsea in recent windows.
Oh, no problem. I will go there easily. Cucurella, Chilwell, who are both looked at as one of the best left backs in the league. Badiashile, Enzo Fernandez, his PR is now down the ground. Lavia hasn't even played for your football club yet. Mikhailo Mudryk was supposed to go to Arsenal, get coached under Arteta, and win a league title. Now look at him. Want to keep going, or image has been painted?
This year says the Redmen TV made and all you need to know about Lenny Yoro. Yeah, they're linked to him. They're linked to him. Sam is worse day by day. Your new manager is no name, same like Maresca.
No, he's not the same like Maresca at all. I didn't want Arne Slot. I'm not the biggest fan of Arne Slot, but he won the league with Feyenoord. So it's completely different. Your manager is no different to Vincent Kompany. That's the level.
We did that.
Top show as always. Big up to Mo. Do you think Chelsea buy a striker or a left winger? And it also comes inside of the news. All the news from Spain is that Nico Williams wants to join Barcelona and is willing to wait to be happy. Of course, Chelsea linked with him again today. What do you think Chelsea should do? Striker or left winger?
Both. They should definitely get both, in my opinion. Definitely get both. Not a right winger. Definitely should get both. And if they get both, left winger, and they get both left winger and a forward, I think that is very scary front line. It depends on who they sign, though. If they can convince Nico Williams, because by the way, this Nico Williams to Chelsea thing is not dead. Even though he's willing to wait for Barcelona, is not dead. Barcelona need to sell Rafinha, and nobody is offering the money that Rafinha is accepting. And he doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia. And it was supposed to be, they tried with Liverpool, and I don't think Liverpool want Rafinha. So this Nico Williams to Chelsea thing, it might happen. And would that be a suicide? I don't think so. I think it's not I think Chelsea can convince Nico Williams to join Chelsea. I think they can. Barcelona need to sell one of the players, one of the big names, to be able to sign the guy. And they aren't successful at the current moment with Rafinha. They can't just sign Nico Williams out of nowhere. They need the money. They need the money for him. This is why I think Chelsea might be able to sign the guy, by the way.
Yeah. This year says, I agree partly with Husam. It's probably a career suicide at Chelsea, but could be one of the best signings too. But at Arsenal, he'd be a left back straight away.
Can we just establish something before we move on from this, my guys? Calafiori is not a left back. The fact that he played in that left center back role in Italy, he is a center back in a back four that plays for Bologna. So for you to assume that he's going to do the rule of a left back and overlapping and do a Ben White thing, well, maybe that's not the case, though. This is what, by the way, that's why I think he doesn't start for Arsenal, because he's not a left back.
Okay, that's where we fundamentally disagree then.
You walk up every day to watch Bologna play in Serie A. Yes, we know that for sure, 100%. Every weekend you do that, 100%.
I said we fundamentally disagree because you think he's not a starter at Arsenal. I think he is.
Oh, you're talking about over Gabriel? Okay, tell me. Is he over Gabriel?
I think he starts.
But he's not a left back.
The way that Arsenal play, it's 4 centre backs, Mo. That's the thing. It's 4 centre backs. That's how they operate. So even the right back and the left back are
Ben White goes forward.
Yeah.
Sam as well. We're dwelling on over them.
They
are an offensive team.
Calafiori is in the 99th percentile in assists and shot creating actions and everything that when it comes to going forward.
He's a center back, Husam in a back four. Anyway, you want to?
Yeah, I know.
Look, guys, listen. I always love the show with you two. It's honestly like watching my parents argue. It's brilliant. I absolutely love it. Everyone who's tuned in, I want to say a big thank you to each and every one of you. Please hit the like button and subscribe. More content later for you today. And we are going to be getting some great. We've been check out my Instagram account at Terry Flewers. We went to a stadium today as well. They wouldn't let us in. And we're talking to security there. He didn't know where we were from, and we said England, and all he just said is, "Oh, you guys are so lucky," as in the results. So suddenly his English got much better. But we've got lots of great content on our Instagram feeds and everything else for you. So go over there and check them out. Husam, Mo, always a pleasure to speak to the two of you. This video, everybody, is going to making sure I've done it. This is going to do I was checking I've done it to MHF. So go and check out the boys' content over there. They're going to be live very, very soon. Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you soon. Peace.